Check it out, VHS tapes. I got some for sale, and it is definitely going to grow. Look at this one. Cleaner, VCR head tape path and tape drive cleaner. So that is my small collection here at the warehouse of VHS tapes, but mark my words, it's going to grow, and I'm going to be adding more VHS tapes. I'm Andrew from 510 Books. It is, what is today? Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022. I want to talk about VHS tapes and why they have become more popular these days in 2022. It's been happening for a few years now, but you may have noticed as a reseller or even as a buyer, as a consumer, that VHS tapes have come back into favor. Those heavier, plastic, clunky, be kind, rewind. You have to rewind it slowly, even if you have a faster machine, to rewatch the movie format, video format. I mean, I remember watching VHS tapes back in the 80s, in the 90s, even into the 2000s. I used to go to video stores in the 2000s, actually probably even up to maybe 12 years ago. I can't remember exactly how many years ago it was, but maybe 15. Going to your local video store, and instead of it having DVDs, it had VHS tapes as it was making a transition to DVDs. And there was also laser discs in there as well. But VHS tapes have become vogue, come back into vogue rather. People are wanting to, nostalgia is really the word, right? People wanting to feel like they're going back in time, back to their childhood, back to a time of comfort. Not worrying so much about quality in terms of the picture quality, the clarity, the lack of the frame moving up and down, which is what you get sometimes with VHS tape, but more just the warm feeling, similar to records, that you get from watching a VHS tape. The sounds it makes, the look of the actual tape, the decoration on the cover, the artwork, that kind of thing. So nostalgia is huge. And as I've said in many videos in the past, if you're new to my channel, maybe you don't know this, but I've said this a lot of times before, is that a lot of programming, whether it's a movie, whether it's kids programming, whether it's a documentary, it could be a concert, some sort of live event, a lot of programming, but even just sticking to movies, a lot of movies never made the transition from VHS to DVD for a whole host of reasons, but they never made that jump. So not only can't you find it on DVD, but you can't find it streaming. The only place you can find it is on a VHS tape. That oftentimes, because that is the case, it is going for a lot of money on eBay or on Amazon, and it's probably likely that it wasn't a huge blockbuster hit, so that you're not going to find, there's not a lot of copies out there as well, which increases the value or the cost to you as the consumer, or of course the value as a reseller. So it could be something like an old horror movie, B-type movie that that's going to be, fall into that category. Also sealed VHS tapes. I have some back here. I've got Enemy at the Gates. Let's see, is this one? That's not Stephen King. This one is not. This one, The Haunting, is not. Apocalypse. This one, Apocalypse, is. I'm not even familiar with that one. An instant classic. I've got Braveheart with Mel Gibson sealed. And I've got Tribulation with Gary Busey. I don't know what that one is, but that's sealed. I've got some others sealed as well here. But also sealed VHS tapes, even more common titles, can go for money. For instance, Terminator, if it's sealed. Certain ones that were huge blockbuster hits that also have a bit of a cult following, and people want to have it on that format, the VHS tape format. Also, people collect them, for nostalgia, but they're just collectors like anybody would collect anything. And there's also people that are design aficionados that are either graphic designers themselves, or they like to collect the artwork, the fonts, all of that comes with a lot of these VHS tape sleeves. And especially if it is a horror movie or a sci-fi or a funky B movie that not a lot of people saw, but that has a loyal, but a small but loyal following. Some of that stuff can be really kind of funny graphics, funny artwork, funny designs, and so people are collecting that kind of stuff. You may have noticed with Stranger Things. I'm blanking. The Netflix show that was huge, based in the 80s, that they were putting out the DVDs in what looked like a scuffed up VHS tape, container or sleeve. So, they're trying to market that, play on that idea of, people having the nostalgia and wanting to relive that and recognizing the old beat up tape that they saw years ago. I personally would probably collect I don't collect VHS tapes, but if something sort of stood out to me or reminded me of my childhood, I might keep it. So I can understand that. For me, it's more of CDs, which is not movies, of course, but in terms of collecting any type of media, there's certain CDs that I like to collect, certain genres, but yeah, I can understand it totally, and that's really what's driving it. Now, brand new VHS tapes are not really being put out, but the used market is huge, and as you may or may not know, as a reseller, you probably know, as a consumer, you might not know, there are still millions of VHS tapes sitting in people's homes. Baby boomers, so my parents' generation, bought millions, tens of millions, if not more, of VHS tapes back in the 80s and the 90s. And a lot of those are still sitting on a shelf somewhere, in a drawer, in a box, in storage, in their closet. And also the children, like me, of the baby boomers who grew up on that stuff may have inherited it or taken it over. And we still have possession of a lot of that stuff. And that's why you'll see a lot of VHS tapes in garage sales, garage sales and yard sales, estate sales, or people selling off their storage units they didn't pay. Well, they don't sell them off, but when they're selling off storage units, there'll be a lot of VHS tapes as well as records and CDs and that type of stuff, all different types of media. So there's just a lot of VHS tapes still out there. I still come across it as a reseller with my store. People will donate a lot of VHS tapes, and I tell them, well, I can take them off your hands, but for the most part, I can't buy them because a lot of them are not worth money, especially if they're beat up or popular titles. But it just depends. So like these are ones that I pulled to put in my local sale that stood out to me. The sealed ones I'll put out for sure. I always put out the sealed ones. Anything unique or out of the ordinary I haven't seen before or has a unique title. Horror movies I'll put out, martial arts, some sci-fi, stuff like that. I'll definitely put out. So I know for me personally, I'm going to start selling or putting out more VHS tapes. Actually going to use these racks that I have. I've been thinking about what to use them for, and I think I will put my VHS tapes on there and take them off the table. In addition, of course, audio cassette tapes are doing well as well. Hold on one second. But yeah, so if you have a box or boxes or storage unit of many or a few VHS tapes, you might want to look through them because there could be some cool stuff in there, not only for yourself, but that might be worth some value, especially if you have some of that stuff I was talking about. If you have a bunch of horror, a bunch of sci-fi, or just random, lesser-known movies that came out in the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s. You might want to look those up because those could be worth some money. And I might be interested in them as well, so let me know. So yeah, nostalgia is probably the number one thing. Like I said, collectors in general, design enthusiasts, those are probably three big reasons. The other thing is with all of these streaming services now, it's the same. I talk about this a lot. It's the same thing as music. If you go all the way back to Napster, and then you go all the way back to when iTunes started, and when MP3s became a thing, and people could buy one song or an album for $10 and all the MP3s, and then on to streaming music to Spotify and everyone else that's involved in that. Now it's coming back, where a lot of people are buying records and a lot of people are buying CDs, and now the same thing's happening with movies, with all the streaming services. People want to hold something tangible, a representation of the experience that they've had in the past and what they're going to have watching that movie in this example. So it's the same thing with all the streaming services. So, anyway, Netflix and Hulu and Prime and all the rest of them, HBO and that kind of thing. A lot of the programs have moved around as well. So you've got to follow a show, all of that sort of craziness, reshuffling of who's going to be controlling what programming, what movies, what TV shows has brought a lot of people back to their comfort zone and looking for VHS tapes. And people, you'd be surprised. On Instagram, apparently, there's a whole subculture of VHS enthusiasts, collectors, people having hundreds, if not thousands, of VHS tapes. Going to a place like my store here, or going to a Goodwill or a local thrift store, secondhand store, and picking up stuff for VHS tapes for cheap, and displaying them, sharing with people on Instagram or on social media. That's definitely become a thing, and I get it. So yeah, those are some of the reasons, and I think that's going to continue, especially with the streaming services. I think DVDs also will eventually, in a few years, I don't know how many years, will start to become more popular as people get tired of streaming and not owning their media, their movies. So yeah, so those are some of the reasons behind it. Give me others. I'm sure there's other reasons as well. Those are the three big ones I would say. And if you enjoy this kind of content, I talk about this stuff. I'm a reseller online as well as locally here in my store, as you can see. Books and all kinds of media, and now soon to be even more VHS tapes. And I talk about my journey opening the store and growing my online presence and all of that stuff. So if you enjoy that kind of content, subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.